I'm Rick Brack, and I am the Nov Radiation Safety Officer. And pretty much what that entails is making sure that we are following the regulations, the federal regulations, when it comes to working with radioactive material, and to make sure we're working with it safely. Here's a good example of a typical day that happened to me last week. So I come into work, then I get a phone call from security saying the NRC is at the front gate. The NRC is are the federal regulators that regulate radiation safety for the entire U.S. And they say we're here for a surprise inspection. So I send out my emails, I make my phone calls, I go pick them up at the front gate. I'm going through my day, I'm answering their questions, they're reviewing a radiation safety program. They're going around to the different laboratories and speaking to the scientists and asking the scientists questions. What kind of radioactive material do you work with? How do you handle it safely? What kind of training have you had? How do you keep track of your inventories? And the really nice thing was everybody had a really high comfort level of one, speaking with the regulators and just with what they needed to do to work with radiation safely. A day can be pretty fast-paced, pretty intense, and interacting with a lot of different people. We set up programs, and throughout the year we check to see if people are following the programs and following the regulations. So we'll do surveys of the laboratories, we'll go in and we'll talk with people about safety. We'll see whether there's any contamination. What we do is we monitor for contamination with radioactive material by using a Geiger counter. So we walk through the laboratories with Geiger counters to see if there's any contamination on a tabletop, on the back of a chair. Because if we're following regulations, we're supposed to be keeping the radioactivity within the containers that it comes in, within the hood or the area that we're working with it, and not have it all over the room. So we're checking compliance that way. We have quarterly meetings where we make sure that people are keeping up with their training, making sure that they're registering their equipment that's producing x-rays as part of the radiation safety program also. So there's compliance programs and there's periodic compliance checks, but it's not day-to-day walking out. We feel like we want to establish a partnership with people and work with the scientists in the labs instead of being the safety police and walking out every day saying, okay, we're going to see if you're in compliance, making sure that you're following the regulations. I wanted to become a veterinarian, so I went to Colorado State University. At the time, the second, actually number 2 in the entire nation for veterinary medicine. So I figured I'd go to a really good school, started taking chemistry, biology, organic chemistry courses, found out I was so seriously allergic to animals, I couldn't be in the same room with an animal. I had asthma attacks so bad I had to carry medicine with me all the time. So I ended up staying in biology and becoming a biochemist and getting involved in research, and I went to take some courses at Cornell and graduate program with Sloan Kettering, and at that point I thought I was going to get into AIDS research, HIV, so I did that for about 3 years. So then I ended up working for Novartis and made the transition into pharmaceuticals, and I've been involved in either pharmaceutical research or the regulatory aspect of working in the pharmaceutical industry ever since. Speaking to a lot of people in this company, I think most people I speak to, where they are now is not where they thought they'd be when they first, not even when they graduated from college, when they first got into the industry. A lot of people started out in the labs and just transitioned into other positions within the pharmaceutical industry. So I would say, yeah, it's probably pretty typical. Yeah, I guess a really good example of something that was inspirational, an aha moment, is it's not always the answer that you give when someone asks you a question, but it's the reason behind the answer and putting a positive spin on it no matter what you do, and also letting someone know what the benefit is to them. So don't only think about it from your point of view. you don't always answer the question. You provide a reason that makes sense to the person you're answering the question for. And that makes all the difference in the world as to how accepting they are to the answer. I guess going in, I don't think they have, because going into my job, I've been the radiation safety officer for the last 2 years now. I thought it was going to be a really tough job assignment. I was asked to take the position, and it was as tough, if not tougher, than I thought it would be. But the really good thing about it is I enjoy doing it. It's a challenge, and I'm learning a lot about the job in the field, but also about myself. The more I'm challenged, I think the more I grow, and the more I become as an individual. And it helps me both at work and both in my personal life. So it's been a challenge, and it's made a difference in my life. So I think the reality is it was as tough as I thought it was going to be, but I'm happy doing it. The people, interacting with the people, and knowing that everybody I've ever interacted with in this company, whether they be in a different department or even at a different campus or a different location, they've always been there to help me and to support me. I've always felt it was a collaborative environment. Being able to think on your own and to solve problems, and you need that core basis of the scientific and technical experience and skills, but you need to do more than that. You need to be able to solve problems. You need to be able to think on your own and come up with your own ideas and your own solutions. And you need to be able to interact with and work with people, because you can't do it alone. You really find that if you try to do anything in isolation, it's a lot tougher. And as soon as you start collaborating and reaching out to people within your group and other groups, things become a lot easier. So I think a key skill is people skills, being able to interact with other individuals. I would say a good piece of advice is you really never know where you're going to end up, so just follow your passion, start somewhere, but start. I mean, go continue your education, and you might not always end up where you want to end up, but the thing is, it's all about the journey. It's all about having a direction and a goal and following it, and who knows where you'll end up, but enjoy it as you're going through it.